Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa broadcast. I present to you the host, Yinka Olaito.
Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa podcast, a platform where we raise issues many are afraid to talk about. Difficult Conversation African podcast is focused on development issues around Africa. And today we'll be looking at the entertainment, to be specific, music industry in Kenya and its contribution to development of Kenya national GDP. As usual, I will give you a background of what we're about to discuss. Kenya entertainment, especially the music industry, is growing and mostly led by young people. Kenya entertainment is a vibrant and growing sector driven by music, film, digital platforms, and gaming. In today's episode, I will be speaking with Labdi Ommes, a songwriter, a singer, music installation artist, and more. Welcome, Labdi Ommes, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Yinka. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for making time.
Thank you for being a very strong voice in the music industry in Kenya, and we are happy with what you are doing. And as you know, what we'll be looking at today is the music industry in Kenya and its contribution. So we go straight to the first question. I already said my guest is Labdi Ommes, a singer, a songwriter, a composer, music producer, and sound installation professional. Right, Labdi, what is your overview of the music and entertainment industry in Kenya?
Thank you for that question, Yinka. My overview of the music and entertainment industry is that it's a very big and rapidly growing sector, and it's a great contributor to our general GDP, especially with the coming of and the growing of social media, for example, TikTok and Instagram. Music, both music and entertainment in general, that also constitutes content creation, has been a great way for a lot of people to get money for their households. So that's really just the general overview. I think that without entertainment, a lot of people would be out of jobs. Without music, a lot of people would be out of jobs. And it's such a great thing because now we are at the hub of creativity. A lot of people from the West and the global North are looking for new ideas, fresh new outtakes on Africa, and they're looking into East Africa, specifically Kenya, for inspiration.
That's a good one. My concern again is the fact that, which I am really interested. You are one of the first or the leading musical artists that is focused on the traditional side of Kenya, which is Orutu. So, Kenya music industry combines traditional and folklore to modern genre. Why did you choose Orutu?
For many reasons. I chose Orutu almost 10 years ago because I felt a gap in my personal expression as a singer. And my uncle at the time advised me to get an instrument or to learn how to play an instrument that is representative of my authentic self. And the only way I could do that was to go back to my roots. Traditionally and by tribe, I am Luo. And we have many instruments that come from the western part of Kenya, which is where I am from. And I came across two instruments that stood out to me, the Orutu and Nyachiti. This was in university. And then I was told that the Orutu was only meant for men to play. And that was really the source of my inspiration for playing it. I almost took it as a dare. So that's really why I chose the Orutu. But in general, it really serves as a way of inspiring young people, ladies also, to take up traditional instruments because our arts in the traditional field, especially like traditional instruments, traditional methods of singing and folklore are dying. And it's our responsibility as a young generation to take them up.
I'm so happy with that because across Africa, languages and traditional values are diminishing. And having somebody who challenges that status quo, that to say, no, we shouldn't allow our languages, musical instrument, and folklore to remain alive. I think that's a good a good point of view for you, and that which I really appreciate, because you are one of the leading ladies in Kenya that is pushing for mainstreaming of Orutu in Kenya. Okay, the impact of entertainment and music industry on Kenya economy had been huge. The projection for 2027 is 3.1 million US dollar. The entertainment industry at large is projected for 900 million in 2025. So, what are your thoughts on this?
I think what is primarily accountable for this growth is innovation and the need for jobs. And there's a lot of talent in Africa. I think the success of West Africa has really, and West and South Africa has really inspired the rest of Africa to hone our culture and to know that we can easily be represented outside and that our cultures matter. So I definitely account it or attribute it to the innovation of the young people, and the growth of the music industry in general affects us all. We realize this. The fact there's a lot more Africans in the diaspora who are able to support the artists financially is also a huge reason as to why there's a lot of growth. There's, that's really how I feel. I feel like it's innovation, creativity, and just a huge amount of talent within the continent.
That's really fantastic. Kenya musicians had used their song to uphold democracy and social justice issue through the use of music by holding government accountable and talk about all the inequality. What more do you think that the Kenya music industry and actors, what more do you think they can do aside from what they're already doing?
I think that question is really heavily reliant on really what more the system can do, because I feel like the artists and the industry are really pushing for equality, and we really, especially Kenyans, we really talk about the inequality, especially now because we're in a very political space, very political state with the protests that happened last year. It's an ongoing process, and artists and entertainers have taken they've taken it upon themselves to be the mirror for society. So I think the real issue, or the only one of the ways in which the industry can benefit or people can benefit, is through systemic support. And one of the best ways that this can happen is through funding the arts. And I think, without being able to earn a living from the art, it's difficult for artists and entertainers to create content and to be able to have a voice to say what they need to say, or to have the tools like videos or just equipment to communicate these things. So I think if there's much more support, and I mean by not just funding, but also infrastructural support, that would be a great thing, and to make it also accessible to all.
Okay, I'm asking again. As a lady, you have chosen Orutu, and part of what you said was the fact that you just want to be different. You want to use the Orutu to challenge the gender stereotype in the musical industry, and you often raise your voice against gender stereotype. Why is this important to you?
Challenging these gender stereotypes is important to me because it is a representation of our society. Without the inclusion of women, I feel like over time we have lost a lot of information that could have been useful for us. And we know in the traditional system, both women and men had their own different gender roles, and everything was functional. That is, even music was also functional in that sense. But by challenging these stereotypes, we are including women in self-expression. I think we're giving women more tools to be able to not only earn a living from the arts, but also to be able to express themselves and have other outlets for their emotions. It's also important for me because we need more people, regardless of gender, representing our traditional instruments and cultures, because we have fewer people now, fewer Orutu players, because it's predominantly male-oriented instruments. I feel like if we had more women, then there'd be a lot more people, and there'd be a lot more texts, a lot more information out there on how to learn and just continue the process of learning and relearning this instrument. So some of the changes I have seen so far are that a lot more women are interested in playing traditional instruments. And outside of that, I feel like it's a system that kind of trickles down. Almost three out of the biggest pop songs in Kenya right now have Orutu in them. And I'm not saying that it's a direct attribution to what I do. I'm not saying that. I think it's just by being out there and by each one of us appreciating our instruments, then we get to be innovative in the ways that we use our instruments.
That's so. How happy are you that you are the leading voice of females artists playing Orutu?
To be honest, it's not something that makes me happy that I am the leading one. To be honest, it has been quite a journey to be at this position because I didn't have so much text to learn from. I didn't have so many references. I even had to teach myself Orutu. And I wonder that I have gotten here by so much hard work. And if there was some many more mentors for me to learn from, it would have been for you much easier. And I think that's why I take upon this role, and I'm very happy to teach and very happy to share information. I just want to make sure that the instrument is accessible to those who care for it. Yeah.
Some of the challenges in the industry are piracy, delay payment, and underinvestment. What do you think government can do to support artists and the music industry in Kenya, despite all the challenges? With funding be of help, then issue of piracy, issue of intellectual property of artists being stolen, and many more. So what do you think that government can do in Kenya, or Kenya government can do to support the music industry?
If we're talking about the music industry, everywhere I have gone around the world, even in Europe, there's a lot more funding for the arts because the arts are not very easy. It's not easy to make a living out of them. In as much as now is the moment for all of us Africans to learn the different ways of making a living, of earning a living out of it. I feel like the fundamental way in which the government can assist is by, of course, funding and giving resources such as venues for performance, equipment. Then we get to funding and all of these things. Investing in people or talent, investing in talent that accelerates the industry as well. There's very few people who are doing mixing and mastering at an international level. Just recently we had the concept of Adobe Atmos, mixing, and I think there's only like 2 companies who are doing it privately. So there's just so much to be done. I feel like the government can offer so much more support to artists and not just wait to tax them at the end of the day. Invest so that by the time you're taxing, I think everyone is happy.
It will be worth it. Yeah, but as a group of artists, and I know that you have Kenya Music Association and all that, what are you guys doing about the piracy issues where your work is pirated without compensation?
I really cannot answer on that because we have a real problem with our copyrights board at this moment. We are really just trying to create systems that work well for us. For a long time, we haven't, as Kenyans, we haven't been able to receive royalties and that kind of thing. So even when you talk about piracy, it's a whole other layer of injustice that has been done to Kenyan artists and Kenyan entertainers. Like some of the biggest bands have received a total of like $100 over the years that they've been working, So this is an incredibly horrible systemic issue, which is full of corruption that we're still really battling. I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel because artists are speaking out on this. I think we really need to work towards a system that works, that is not corrupt, because that's where the failing of the industry is really. But we'll get there surely.
Sure. Almost everywhere there's copyright issues that have not been properly and legally handled, almost in every country in Africa. And I think that that could be something that artists and everyone should be interested. That was why I asked that question. And let me ask you this question finally. Kenya music industry is shaping cultural identity, is fostering youth engagement, among many other, and is contributing to the economy. Why should stakeholder be interested in this?
I mean, obviously, by just matter of fact, if you search the contribution and the projections of what the Kenyan music industry can offer to the GDP is really, 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 really great. And there's so much evidence of this. Spotify set up here in Kenya. There's so many different infrastructure companies that have been setting up in Kenya that of course have been doing this because of the projections. I think one of the ways in which the industry can contribute more to the overall development is by creating systems that are transparent. Because when you have gatekeepers, then a lot of people run out of jobs. A lot of people are not paid, and a lot of people don't get access to opportunities. So really just being transparent and then sharing opportunities, creating access, and just teaching. There's a lot of work we have to do, especially as a continent, not just in Kenya. There's a lot of work we need to do in making things accessible. Music used to be a tool for the people, a tool for the masses, something that was accessible. But now, more and more, with the capitalization of the music industry, it's becoming less and less accessible. So I think making it accessible and being transparent is one of the ways that it can contribute to the overall development of the country.
So, lastly, as a lady, as a musician, what should we be expecting from a singer, songwriter, composer, sound installation professional like you in the coming years? And what should we hope to be looking forward for?
My background is mainly in cultural music, so by so doing, I would expect evolution of the traditional crafts, evolution of the traditional instruments to make them. For example, my Orutu is made from materials that can make it easily break. It's it's from found objects. I want to see a version of the Orutu that is more sustainable, just as sustainable and as well made as, for example, a guitar. I want to see, and I really hope for more women within the space. And I think already slowly it's growing, with some institutions like British Council supporting more women, SEMA, that's Santuri, creating systems for supporting more women. I'd like to see that also. And just in general, I'd like more creatives, or the young creatives, to have just a lot more fun and a lot more freedom in what they create. That's really what I hope for. And more Orutu players, of course.
That's very fine. Yeah, that's so. And we hope to see more of Orutu player and musician contributing more to the GTP, right?
Yes, I'd love to see that a lot.
And then to see more of their impact in shaping the culture and political value through your lyrics, right?
Yes.
So, Labdi Ommes, thank you for this session. Very insightful on the part of the Difficult Conversation African podcast team. We just want to say thank you and kudos to the work or the pioneering work that you are doing. We can understand from you that you will have wished to see more person ahead who are role model in the industry so that you can learn. But I think that as you start, you can always be a forerunner that is inspiring other young women to take up the traditional genre of music that you are in, which is Orutu. Once again, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for your insight and contribution. I hope that in the next few months we can have you more back to us about the progress and some of the how far you have gone with your vision. And to our listener, we just want to say thank you for always being there for us. This is Difficult Conversation African podcast. Thank you for always giving your feedback, and please continue to subscribe to our YouTube, our project channel, as well as our project channel at www.difficultconversationafricapodcast.org, and on our health at Difficult Conversation on Facebook and Instagram. See you in the next edition.
Thank you for listening to this episode. For inquiry, please send an email to info@difficultconversationafrica.org. Telephone 0809 591. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Difficult Conversation Africa. See you soon.